Hello there. Well, whoa, I threw my glasses on top of the phone. That's what that was. But, so, anyways, yesterday, after I made the video talking about, like, how, um, my brother, like, changed his mind and I thought I was finally going to be out of here, this woman upstairs is really digging in as far as making this her home, like, permanently, which is going to fuck up the whole building. It kind of already has, because I was listening to music outside and I'm like, wait a minute, that's because Chris is, that's the crazy Warbeck guy. He's the guy that usually sits out on the porch listening to music, but that ain't his kind of music. So she's out there and she's put in a bird bath, like I said, and wind chimes, and she's out there digging around, like planting shit. And it's like she's really, digging in here. And I'm like, nobody's gonna want to live beside her or underneath her. So I just wonder what this building will be like when I finally get out of here. Like, because ain't nobody gonna put up without chirping about what I have to put up with to the landlord. So that strikes me as kind of funny. But really, I'm just killing time because I called the dentist. I called the dentist, and you know, I'm kind of like wading through this COVID mess. I called like the Scenic View Transportation. The number is just disconnected. So I'm like, okay, it's just disconnected. So I'm like, I called the Net Transportation people, which is the service that calls Scenic View. You arrange transportation through them, and I'm waiting for a call back from them and to see what they say about what kind of transportation. But I made my appointment for Thursday, the 28th, and they changed the dentistry thing. They changed the whole way, their whole menu system and everything. You just talk to somebody directly. They ask you what kind of problem you have, and I said I had a cavity that's close to the gum line. Because if it wasn't close to the gum line, I'm not, like I said, I want to wait until June something to see if opening the state up in May is going to spike, if we're going to see a spike in cases. So, but I can't wait on this. I actually have 10 amoxicillin antibiotic pills, which I think you take two a day. So like 5 days worth of antibiotic, and that's good to knock back the pain and the infection. If it's, I don't know if it's like maybe I'm getting exaggerated pain, or maybe my head's messing with me, or maybe it's the allodynia, which is a condition where you get increased sensitivity, uh, like in my stomach. So it is on the left side of me, but I mean, who knows? But with dental problems, you generally don't want to wait. So, I want to get back up on the horse, and not, like I said, not let depression, swamp me, or, despair. And a good way to do that, to get back up on the horse, is to just start living your life like you're in a regular world, not this COVID world nonsense, regardless if you're in the group most likely to die from catching the virus. And death don't hold no terrors for me. So, I don't want to get sick or anything like that, but give me an excuse to eat a bunch of pills, because I'm not, that's the thing about, like, if you do catch COVID and, you got like hundreds of pills you could take to put yourself out of your misery, once they get you in the hospital, it's too goddamn late because all the pills are locked up and you're on a ventilator or something. You're going to suffer out your miserable COVID death, which I, deliberately avoided hearing descriptions of what it's like, for people that had severe cases of it or whatever, they end up in ICU units. They'd throw me in an ICU unit right away as soon as they learned that I had a history of, I had my heart shocked 5 or 6 times. I can never know which exactly. And, but anyways, yesterday I was, of course, processing things through that video, and then I made a couple of phone calls, and called the real estate agent dude, and of course got no answer. His answering machine message on his work number is full. So I don't even know what that means. So I don't know what that's about. If like he's not using his work number, or if he's not working, or what the deal is. But like I called the transportation place, and I made a couple calls here and there to try to not just let myself slip into the rigor mortis stage of despair, where you're just you don't want to move, you don't want to eat, you don't want nothing. So I called my friend and my best friend and talked. I said, "Did you talk to my brother yet?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "I don't know anything about it." So he's in the middle of like working on this house, right? Um, he rented this house out to a family, a big house, underground garage, underground 2-car heated garage, and he bought the house so he could assure himself that he would have good people living next to him. And so he thinks he's moving in this good Christian family, right? Like maybe I think he told me 6 years ago. And the whole guy, the guy's life just fell apart. He said he always felt like there was something not completely right about the guy. Like, like he'd talk to him and he'd have a look in his eye like he was only part of him was away, you know. But, my friend's like a devout Christian, so that means something to him that, this guy's also a Christian. Maybe he went to his church. I didn't ask. I just listened. But anyways, so this guy's life falls apart. His wife leaves him and takes the kids with him. He takes up with another woman, and at some point, and she turns out to be a crackhead. And I was like, well, did she have him doing crack too? And he's like, no. And he's like, there was a bunch of beer bottles and beer cans all over the place, so maybe he was drinking. And he's like, I didn't think he was doing any of that stuff. He said, I hadn't set foot in the house in 6 years, so he had no idea what was going on, right? The guy was just making the rent, and he was just leaving him alone. And this house is like down, like he's got his backyard, and it's like down a little hill. It's like right, a next door neighbor, more or less. And so the guy's parents live in the house beside the house in question with the crackhead that moved into it. And this guy don't have no power and no water for God knows how long. And he's surviving the winter by taking an extension cord and running it from his parents' house into the house that my friend is renting to him, and having a little space heater in a little room, kind of like what I got set up here. Except for I have water and electricity. And I have to tell this. I don't think you mind, but this is going to blow your mind. What does it mean when you have no water at all? Well, that means you have to import water, of course, in order to flush the toilet. But if you're high on crack all the time, that becomes not a priority. So he said the toilets were so bad he actually threw them out like they're disposable toilets. He said it was unbelievable, and I just wanted to be funny, so I said, so in other words, your jaw dropped and and your nose closed at the same time, cover. Like, what am I seeing? Because he said he hadn't been in there for 6 years, and he kept telling the guy he needed the keys. He needed the keys to get in there. And when he finally got in there, he's like, there's an unbelievable amount of damage in there, and there's some kind of snafu with the insurance company where it's up to him to fix it. I don't know why, or he had an explanation, but I don't remember. But he had disposable toilets. He said they were just, you know it's the wonderful world of hard drugs, my friends. They were just shitting and pissing in a hole and just leaving it at that in the house that he was renting out and that they were living in. No water, no electricity, all money going toward crack. So, that's like he was talking about That's a long time ago. And that's why we had that conversation where I was like, you really don't have that much control over your life. It's an illusion. You think you have control over your life. The best you can do is evil cannot be conquered in the world, only within oneself. The best you can do is to control yourself, and you can't always do that, but you can't control the world. Or like, he was kind of like, my neighbors suck. They're selling the house. I'm gonna buy that. They're finally selling the house. They're finally leaving. I'm gonna buy the house and rent it out, and control who I have living next to me. And by God, if you don't go to the inner city will come to you. I learned that lesson moving in here. And anyways, so I talked to him about it, and told him what was going on. And he was like, I thought about suggesting that a couple of times to both of you, but he's like, I just never did. I stayed out of it. The whole idea about he's living in a house by himself, and I'm in a situation that's bad where I need a place to stay. And like, we could pool our incomes, live better. He would live better. I'm living fine as far as I'm concerned because my rent's only $425, and I'm used to being poor. So, you know, I'm worried about throwing food out half the time, and eating stuff like, I better eat this before it spoils. I got a variety of food to choose from. And so, anyways, like, I didn't do much else yesterday besides that. But I processed it okay. I felt bad yesterday, physically, and I felt bad today. I don't. My stomach's like not the best today. Perhaps eating a 5 egg omelet, not the best choice in the world, but um, yeah, I'm just waiting for these people to call back because that's the way it works. Is you call them, you leave a message, and then they call you back, and you have to catch the call. So, or the process all becomes kind of weird because they tell you only to leave one message, and yeah, it's weird. You want to catch the call when they call because they'll call you back within 24 hours. And it's like I didn't catch the call one time, and it was like it made it into a big hassle. So I'm kind of just sitting around waiting for the call back. And the dentist's office was like, they had the funniest. They had like a musical pre-recorded message. Like, by musical I mean the person talks like this: we are happy to serve you because we want to brighten your smile today. They were like, we are happy to serve you, but we will be wearing extra layers of clothing. You will not see our faces behind these, but believe us, we're smiling, waiting to serve you today. So I guess the dentist is going to be like in full armor, full hazmat suit, when they're working on me. And they asked all patients to come in there wearing a mask before you open your mouth, and observe the 6 foot uh, distancing rule, which I don't. That will affect their scheduling. It's in a mall, so I don't know how much of the mall is actually open. So I assume I will have to be within 6 feet of my driver. So maybe I'll wear the mask in the car when I go, depending upon if they can find me a transportation service or not. I thought about the nightmare of. I didn't know if like SARTA buses run. The special buses they have for. I have crippled bus privileges, which is just city bus, but they're short and they come to your house for people that can't walk to the bus stops and climb on a regular bus. So, but oh my God, what a nightmare scheduling those things. We're trying to get the times worked out. Sometimes you can't do it at all, so you don't get. You just like, I can't get it to schedule any return trip until 3 hours after the appointment will be over. You know, and just because I have enough money now where I can like pay for cabs and shit doesn't mean I'm not saving it up because they might have to cap this tooth. And by the way, these caps, they're still sensitive after God knows how long. It's like, when are they going to stop being sensitive? And I don't really have any chewing area, so I would like to get to the point where I got used to wearing partials. I noticed that one side of my mouth droops a little bit. I don't know. I've never had a stroke. I don't know if that's from, uh, shall we say, my dental arrangement or not. But yeah, after yesterday, and like I said, I'm just kill a little time here, do something rude, and rub a piece of something off my lip. And you know, I was talking to my friend. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Is like um, after I texted the dude yesterday, at first I called his number and I told him like you don't have any room on your answering machine, but I called you, and I told him something happened yesterday. I said something, I don't know how I phrased it, but maybe that got his attention or whatever, because you gotta be in crisis somehow. Like I'm not in crisis every second of every fucking day, but you gotta be in some kind of crisis. Like you need, like you might, basically. So that got his attention or whatever. So he texted me yesterday and said he'd call me at 9 o'clock this morning, which he did, but he didn't have much time to talk. But I talked to him about it, and he couldn't wrap his head around it. And I explained to him, like, he's like, "What happened?" And I was like, "I don't really want to talk about that." I explained it as best I could, and he was asking a lot of questions about it, and didn't really quite understand it. And it's like, um, I don't know how much he remembers or how much he retains, because a lot of times he'll he doesn't remember things that I say, you know. So um, the conversation I had with him, I was just basically, I don't want to talk about that anymore. It was like, tell me how to do this phone conferencing thing, because I won't be able to get a refill on my volume unless I have some kind of face to face with the psych guy, and that's on the 28th. And he's like, I'll send you an app in the email. He put an app on your phone, and it's like I'm like, I'm not good. I got two smartphones. I'm not good with them. I just found out how to use the microphone thing for texting. I was testing it out, and I was like, this thing works like excellently. This works a lot better than Dragon Speak, which is oh, they have a name for that, where you talk and the computer writes. But that thing works terribly compared to that phone. That phone works expertly. Uh, but yeah, it's called Dragon Speak. You speak and it types. So I write long. I like to write on the computer, but I'm just basically like one keystroke at a time, and I'm always screwing it up and stuff. So I don't have that, I think, installed on this computer. But I did use it. You just have to go back and make a lot of corrections. And anyways, so the conversation with the dude was real short. He's like, I'm pulling into the garage. I'll call you later or something like that. Um, but yeah, I was gonna. I was talking. I go back to what I was talking about before. I was talking to my friend in the garage, and like I said, in the house with the disposable toilets, he's like, there's something wrong with the wiring in this garage, and he's up standing on a bucket while I'm talking to him, and he's trying to talk to me on the phone because he knows it's important and he's my best friend. So, but he really wants to be off the phone and be working on his house while he has the chance, because his mother's the aunt that I talk about, that I call, that's got dementia. So he really just wants to be off the phone. So he's trying to work at the same time, and all of a sudden I hear a big crash, and the ceiling. He was like, he didn't know how this light fixture was connected, and the whole thing came swinging past his head and hit the phone and not his head. He was like, "Whoa," because he's very calm, having been a cop for God knows how long, so he's very calm about danger and whatever. But he almost got whacked in the head by this heavy fixture that came swinging down, and uh, knocked off of this bucket and severely injured. And I'd be like, "Hello, hello, hello," you know. So I was. He was like, "Oh, there's a bunch of wires in here." And at one point, I was finishing up the call, and he was trying to talk while he was holding things in his mouth and stuff like this. So I was like, I'm gonna let you go, man. I was like, thanks for the ear, but I didn't talk to him for very long. But he doesn't, he he's very busy. He just keeps very busy. He's 65 years old, but yeah, he's the only downtime that he really has is forced upon him, by uh, any kind of physical ailments. He's the guy I was talking about that like had the detached retina scare and then went to the eye doctor and was his wife said you might as well go fishing anyway now, and he went fishing and drove drove like 3 hours for an hour of catching one carp. He said the fish aren't even in the water yet. I think I told that about like how like fish like to hump in running water, so they all come out of Lake Erie. He's like the spring has been so cold here, as I showed in like a video where it was snowing in May, that the fish aren't even in the spawning run hasn't even started. You know, it hasn't even started in the middle of May. It's like that's crazy. That's really when you want to go when it's at its peak is like in the middle of May. But the spawning run for those fish can go anywhere from late April to early June. It can go as long as a couple of months. But anyways, I just just I'm just laying here doing nothing. So, um, but yeah, I didn't call my brother after that or anything like that. But I don't, like I said, I told my friend it kind of hurt my feelings. It's not gonna. It might. You know, I definitely don't want to live with nobody that doesn't want me there. And it's like it doesn't really. He, you know, well, most logical people would agree that it doesn't make any sense. It's like if somebody would like that you knew and that you trusted and completely told you like just let me stay in your house for like 3 months for like $3,000 and you are a poor person, you're jumping on that shit. Because I would be like fixing stuff. Wouldn't be just like here's $500 for rent each month. You know, why? What free extra food? I'm wheezing. That's not good. Why I'm wheezing? But yeah. Um. So yeah, I was like, man, I was like, I got to be honest to my friend after that. I heard that crash and shit. And he's like, I was like, did something fall? Are you okay? And he didn't answer the phone for a while because he had to get off the bucket. And he's like, no, no, I just dropped the phone. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. Well, not really. And then he explained how like he was loosening this fixture and it just came swinging down like a pendulum. He said it had a whole bunch of weight to it. He said I had no idea it was that heavy and it just come down swinging beside his head and hit the phone out of his hand. I was like, man, you're lucky you didn't get hit in the head. And he goes, yeah. Uh, I said, I got to be honest though, I wouldn't feel responsible for that because you could, it's nice, that's how nice of a guy he is, He's like, so he knew I had something serious to talk about, so I talked about some other serious thing that I couldn't talk about on here. So I didn't make it like a chit chat like thing where, there's some compelling stuff in there, and it was a short conversation and shit. It's respectful of his time. I didn't talk about, will they play in the NFL this year or not? Because I hope they do. That kind of stuff. And the other thing that happened involving there's another thing that happened involving a car accident where a car got totaled that I can't go into. That I talked to him about, and nobody got hurt. Don't worry. And you know, I don't know how big a deal it is. Um, and I got my own problems. Obviously, if I got to go to why couldn't my teeth like waited a little bit? But this has been going on for a while. It's like This was going on in February where I was flossing my teeth, and I was like, what the fuck, you know? It's like it's the little cavity is catching the floss, and you feel the floss, a strand of the floss getting caught in it and shit. And I'm like, oh fuck, it's right next to the gum line. I can't afford to let that go. So that was happening in February, March, April, May. You get the picture. There's not a choice in the matter here. You know, it's like your tooth or your life. You know, I don't know, but it's already starting to hurt. I don't even know if it's salvageable, if they'll pull it, or I don't know how bad it is. But usually when there's pain, it's too late. Usually when there's pain, something major has to be done. A root canal, a capping. It's not a filling. So I'm thinking it's probably be a capping, and they'll probably set me back quite a bit. You know, she was able to get the insurance to pay for these two caps, and she was very pleased about that. And like, I got great news for you, you know. And, um, you know, they look a little weird, but they're okay. They're not bad. They almost match the natural hideousness of my other teeth. And I'm not ready to give this tooth up. I will pay for a cap for it because it needs to be an anchor for my upper plate. So, well, this is a mishmash of dentistry talk, near home accidents, and a dilapidated home. What crackheads will do to your house if you rent to crackheads for too long. Uh, and basic, uh, yeah, this is like a Pulp Fiction, like non-sequential type of thing here. But I'm in an okay mood. Like I said, I feel better when I'm on top of things, where I'm like making an effort and not just laying there in bed. Believe me, I couldn't go to sleep last night, of course, because I was still bothered about the thing and not feeling well with my brother. And when I went, I was like, oh, I'm not asleep yet. I'm resetting the alarm from 4 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I turned the alarm off together, and I woke all together, and I woke up at 6 o'clock on the dot, like spontaneously. And I was like, looked, and I said it's six. And I was like, looked, and the dot wasn't on the alarm clock telling me, like, when I did that, you know how like when you set your alarm, you automatically flip a switch. You do things like on autopilot. Well, the alarm was already on, and so when I changed it, I just flipped the switch without looking at it, thinking about it, just because it's like an automatic thing. But yeah, this tooth does feel weird. It's not like it's just like a weird type of it's like something's going on there type of feeling. It's not even like I've been putting like Orajel on it, but it's not even like pain. It's like I just you feel something there. It's not a pleasant sensation, but I wouldn't even call it pain. And it's while I was waiting on hold, I was like, because I knew they're gonna ask me like, is this something that can wait? But I guess anything you just have to say cavity and you can get in there. Because they have like rules as far as because of the COVID thing. It's like, yeah, I want to come in and risk everybody's life for a brightening. It's not going to happen. It has to be over a medical, what they call it. They had a word for it, a progressive medical issue or something like that. Basically, something that's going to get worse if it's not treated. Something that can't wait. Yeah, but they had another name for it. The governor did anyway. But yeah, uh, mm, so it's warm in here for some reason. That's the blood pressure medicine I took kicking in. That's why I feel weird. Okay, that explains that. Because yeah, I took 10 milligrams again of Valium, which is 66% of what I'm supposed to be taking. Yesterday, because I'm taking the mountain pills at night, and it like I just don't. I more or less been skipping my morning dose like every uh, other day for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea or whatever, but making the phone calls and thinking about the dentist thing and stuff, like my heart was beating a little quick, and I'm like, I'll take a blood pressure pill and slow my heart down a little bit, having some anxiety, and listening to hammering and banging and stuff upstairs. This woman's like very active for somebody with fibromyalgia and COPD. It makes me think that she's because she's awfully active, and she's older than I am. So, uh, yeah, if you got like all those medical conditions, but some people say with fibromyalgia, the last thing you want to do is be inactive. You want to be moving all the time. I think the lady that cuts grass all the time, I saw her head out the window here a couple of times uh, in the last week where she's cutting grass. She lives over there. She cuts the grass all the way in front of the house here, and then all the way on the side. And I don't know if she's cutting this guy's grass, who's there's nobody lives in that house over there because of the mess situation here. That was when the mess situation, that guy and his kids moved out, and he was been trying to sell the house ever since. But now the spouting come down again out there, and the whole backyard's wrecked, and it's not. And I wouldn't want to try to sell it in the condition it's in. You might as well try to sell a boat with a foot of water in it. So he's obviously more concerned about the COVID situation than selling his house, at least currently. And he wasn't getting. He offered to sell it to me, and I'm like, dude, I want to get out of this neighborhood. I'm like, it's too close to Mr. Gerald Miller. That's what I told him. I was like, he's like, I'll sell it to you cheap, man. And I didn't even go into the fact that yeah, my credit is not going to allow that. Um, yeah. Uh, the whole idea was silly because um, it's going to get at least 30 grand for that house, no matter what condition it's in. Uh, and I've never had more than I've got the most money now I've probably ever had in my life, but it's only like $6,000 or something like that. Like, I wouldn't have enough money for the down payment. I wouldn't want to live next to this fucking building. I want to get out of the neighborhood because I got excommunicated family living in the neighborhood. It's like this whole. I don't want to see this place anymore. I don't want to see Gerald Miller anymore. I don't want to see any of those people that live in that house down there that I moved into the neighborhood for anymore. I don't. I will gladly stay in Maslin, but not next door. So that was kind of funny that he offered to sell it to me and was like going into sales pitch mode. And I was like, just stop right there. It's like it's too close to this building, and you moved out of there because of this building. Same deal. Um, yeah, there's a dog across the street with the Georgia people, and then the dog upstairs. They have barking wars now. When mainly, I think when they go outside, they've had a couple through the upstairs window where their dog upstairs is barking at the window, out the window at a dog that's like maybe I don't know tied up outside, or maybe they can see each other in the window. More likely, they can hear one barks and the other one barks, and they go back and forth. So it's like two large dogs barking. Um, but they were doing that this morning, and I could hear her yelling, "Precious, Precious, be quiet, Precious." And she got no control over that dog. Um, but yeah, she's digging her heels in, man. She's like beautifying the place and stuff. Of course, that don't necessarily mean she'll stay, but she's on Stark Metropolitan Housing, and I don't make no noise at all. It's like a ghost living down below her. So um, I even heard her refer to me as quiet through in the hallway to somebody. Oh, he's quiet. So uh, yeah. Well, I got to be extra quiet so to level out your fucking noise, bitch. But yeah, I just can't help thinking about that. It's like whoever lives here after me, however, if she's digging her heels in, she's really gonna stay. And what I was gonna say is that doing all that doesn't necessarily mean that she's gonna be here, but she's on Stark Metropolitan Housing. When the two beautiful women were up there, it's just a thing that women do. You know, they want to make a place homier and add their little touches. There was plants hanging out there when the beautiful women lived upstairs and all that. And they didn't stay for very long at all. Um, One of the reasons might have been, oh, I don't know, the landlord like wouldn't even let them wash their cars. They wouldn't let them have access to water to wash their cars, or like simple little things like that, and didn't trust them. Uh, but yeah, that was like the that was only like they were only here like a year, but you know they're working for a living. This woman, so when I'm thinking she's digging in her heels, she's digging in her heels. She's gonna be here, so uh, still no sign at all of Christopher, who lives next door to her, and I don't blame him a bit. She run his sister out of here really before he came, and she stupidly let her crazy brother live with her, and then her brother threw her out and sang her the song "Don't Hit the Road," or how's the is how could I forget the lyrics of that? You know the thing I'm going for. Hit the road, Jack, and don't come back no more, no more. He was throwing her out in the process of throwing her out, singing her some Ray Charles. Hit the road, Jack, and don't come back no more, no more, no more. He's actually singing to her. I'm like, I live in a goddamn insane asylum. It's like, I'm starting to fit in too, man. I need to get out of here. So, yeah, it's just like he's gonna have. This guy seems to have be paying the rent according to the landlord, but not living here, just sleeping here, or maybe not even sleeping here. I don't even know, but I never see him or hear him, and he's not. You know, he's the guy that picked up a card, punched a hole in the card table, and then picked it up and threw it in the yard last summer. So he's not a quiet, calm, temperate soul like myself. Let's put it that way. Um, but yeah, to build an apartment around that with the stomping and the dog barking and all that stuff, it's like it's going to be a lot of fun for. Am I smiling right now? Am I taking pleasure thinking about like when I'm out of here? The mess that I'm going to leave for him to clean up, and then he's going to have to try to convince somebody to live in here, and then there's going to be like back and forth about the noise because nobody, you know, unless he puts out an ad for a deaf mute or a deaf person. I think if you're deaf, I don't know how that works, but anyways, I fucked that all up. I guess I'll get off here and stop killing time since I managed to screw that up. But yeah, imagine that. Uh, One bedroom apartment, spacious, clean, good neighborhood, must be deaf. That's what they need. Because ain't nobody with 2020 hearing is going to put up with this, man. Nobody. I mean, I've been. You should see like what my living room looks like. It looks just a bunch of crap. There's one couch laying sideways that up yet, and then everything else is just shoved in a corner in a big pile. And then there's a big ass motor scooter in there, and then there's like another scooter sideways next to the microwave. And one of the things I should do if these people ever call me back is, uh, yeah, making my 5 egg omelet and stuffing myself full of eggs, and I was like, oh shit, I left the water in the sink, you know, and it's sure enough, it sinks rank. So that's something I could do is get out the bleach and disinfect that sink. Uh, yeah, I lived in this one place, and this is, uh, yeah, this was actually the World War II vet uncle that I liked, Uncle Joe, and his son ran it, and I had a problem with there was some sort of problem with the kitchen sink in this place. I didn't give a shit about anything when I was 20 years old, man. I really didn't. I think everything was funny. I had like there was separate hot and cold water spigots. This building is so old, man. It looked like it belonged in the old west or something like that. But there was separate hot and cold spigots on this old huge sink, and they did something or another with it. And then I complained, and I was like, the sink is not sitting level, and they didn't want to fuck with it no more, because they were super cheap. He was raised in the depression. His son inherited some of that cheapness, a lot of that cheapness actually, and so they just would try to do like amateur plumbing themselves. So they were like in total denial. It was so funny, and I just rolled with it because that's how I was in my 20s. But I mean, it was a flat bottom sink, and when they were done with it, it was sitting like this. So there would always be water laying in it. And I'm like, that sink's not sitting level. And they were like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, it's going to hold water. And no, it won't. And, and I'm thinking, well, I've been living here for years. I know what the sink looks like. I know, and I just would just let it go. And then, sure enough, the sink would never drain completely, and it was actually probably, I don't even know what the sink was made out of, but the porcelain part of the sink got eaten away, and water would lay in it, and it would be like blackish water. God only knows, you know, what the sink was made out of underneath the porcelain, and maybe lead. You know, the place was so old it had separate hot and cold. You'd run your hand from one spigot to the other when you washed. Not really, but it's just a funny image. What you do, of course, is turn on the hot water, and then you wash your hands underneath the hot water until it got too hot, and you would turn it off. And but yeah, separate hot and cold spigots. You don't see that too often. And building was made probably in the 1890s or something like that. And they would do their amateur plumbing. And one of the things that they did was like they totally flooded the shit out of my apartment because they would like try to clear a drain by sticking a hose down a drain and forcing water into it, and then they would like, you know, hold their hands over top of like a bunch of rags and like run a hose and force the water, but that water's got to go somewhere. Their idea is it's gonna block whatever the occlusion is, the blockage in the pipe, but the water's got to go somewhere. So what happened was they were doing this in there's a few apartment buildings upstairs, and there's only two apartment buildings downstairs. So they were doing this like I'm here, okay? And they were doing this over here. The apartment above me was empty, so they're continually like full out forcing water through this hose, just running it full force and not letting it go anywhere with all the drains stopped up in that apartment. Well, that other apartment's empty, so there wasn't nobody there to tell them that the water was backing up into the sink in that empty apartment over top of me. So I mean, a curtain, so water was coming down. It was like DEFCON 5. I ran upstairs, and I'm like, I don't know what you guys are doing up here, but whatever it is, my place is flooded. So please stop. you know, and I I mean, because of the way the place was, is like I had to have a garbage bag handy to throw over top of that was considered a big screen TV back then, 31 inches. But I had like they still made, they didn't have no flat screen TV, so it was a 31-inch box TV that I believe people are still watching at some house, at my brother-in-law's house, but I don't know. But anyways, so I would have like an emergency tarp to throw over that if anything like that happened. So I threw the tarp over the TV because of the way the place was situated. There's just no choice. Like same as here, the TV has to go in a specific place, and so they didn't even apologize or anything for that, man, or help me clean up or whatever, man. There was like fish flopping around in my living room. It was a lot of water because yeah, so they would do shit like that, and I knew I was in for it, but I never cared about shit when I was 20 years old. I was a happy camper. Uh, I was so out of my mind. I was happy, I guess you could say. but I just remember not giving a shit about anything. But like when I first moved in there, I knew I was in for some weird experiences as far as those guys because um, the door had one of those things like the one of them catches, and then you have to pull the screen door all the way shut. It's like a swing arm, and uh, my uncle Joe from World War II was like, "Door's not shutting right," so he takes a fucking hacksaw to it, and he hacksaws a piece of the door like all the way down to where it's ragged on the edges and shit, and he's like, "Oh, it closes better now." So the whole time I lived there, I had to be careful about how not to grab the outside of the screen door, and he cut like an edge of it, you know, like all the way down with a hacksaw. I'm like, okay, yeah, they weren't really into they wouldn't hire plumbers no matter what. The first plumber they ever hired was really ironic because Um, this guy's born in 1922, and he never even. I asked him about it. He said, "Man, I never even seen a black guy in World War II. They kept everything separate, you know." And he didn't give a shit about much. He'd use the N word like we're like all standing around in a circle outside my apartment, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I used to have this buddy that used to pick up." He says smoking so bad. He used to pick up anything off the road and smoke it, man. And he picked up a cigar one day, and I said, "How do you know a nigger didn't smoke that?" I'm like looking around. He didn't care about it. So he did not rent the black people. Is the point of why I'm dropping the N bomb? What's gay expressions they have nowadays? Oh, I can't say the G bomb. I just dropped the G bomb. So, anyways, um, uh, so we're so he doesn't rent to any black people, man. That's like he's practicing Jim Crow laws and breaking civil rights laws and stuff all the time. Just doing it like sly way, finding a way excuses. He didn't want any black dudes or women living in that building because he said women just cause trouble because the other dudes in the apartment building be fighting over the women. So he was still living in the 40s. But so he does break down and he finally rents to a woman. And I'm like, well, that's surprising. What he didn't know is that the woman had a black uh, boyfriend. So, he broke both of his long standing rules at once. He only meant to break one of them. So, and the black guy was not a smart guy. I talked to him and I was like, this guy is not all there. And the first thing he did, and I described the building to you already, how old it was and how it had separate hot and cold faucets and shit. He immediately throws spaghetti and rice down the sink and then flips on the light switch like it's a garbage disposal. So naturally, this goes down into my apartment, and I'm like, I turn the sink on and put the stopper in the sink. No, no, that's not how that happened at all. Somehow or another, um, water started coming up in my sink. I'm watching TV. I'm hearing water hit the floor in my bathroom. I go in my bathroom and I have one of them stop in your tracks, blank mind, what the fuck moments as I'm watching spaghetti and rice and water pour onto my bathroom floor. I grab a bucket and try and put it there to catch most of it. And then I call my uncle, and that's the first time they called the plumber ever in all the years that I lived there. And that might have been the only time they called the plumber. And yeah, that's how that happened. It's like a bad joke on a sitcom or something like that. It's like the guy put spaghetti and that's what it was, spaghetti and rice. I don't know why it was both. Maybe he was making a dish that included pasta and rice. I don't know, but it was probably just old stuff from the refrigerator that he was throwing in there. But yeah, He threw it in the sink and flipped on the light switch, and then looked at the light because he thought it was a very quiet garbage disposal. I don't know, but yeah, yeah, and it. So in other words, like renting to a woman immediately cost my uncle plumber money, which he did not like at all. And yeah, there's more details to that, which I think. Yeah, trying to think how that. Yeah, there's more details to that, but they're unimportant. But you know how it is. I'll remember this stuff more accurately later, or not more accurately, but more fully later. I always remember. I was like, oh yeah, that's how that was set up, and how this happened, and that happened. But actually, I fucked that story all up because he would have never rented to a woman or a black person. What happened is he wanted to fill that apartment quick. He got a recommendation from a guy that he trusted, and that this guy needed an apartment real bad, so he rented it to him sight unseen over the phone. And apparently, the guy did not have a black voice or whatever, and so he accidentally ran into a black guy that had a white girlfriend. That's actually how that happened. So now that I've ruined my whole stories, yeah, yeah, I'll go. At least you can see I'm in a better mood than yesterday, and I'm more lively and animated. And it's not because I'm full of coffee. As a matter of fact, I have a blood pressure pill in me, and um, I took Valium at around noon, and I woke up at around um, not around 6. I woke up at 6 o'clock on the dot. What do we got here? Uh-oh. It is 2:30. Well, I still got an hour and a half until that place closes. That they say they'll return your call within 24 hours. So I was surprised I was able to get into the dentist that fast. And I imagine like if they can't be like filling, if they're talking about a 6 foot social distancing rule, them chairs are real close together, and you're, you more or less, the guy is right here beside you when you're in that office, and there's somebody else on the other side of you. So, they must be taking limited patients. So I was like, when I found out I could get in there that quick, I was like, yeah, you know, you never know when something can blow up. I've just got bad genetics as far as teeth, and you never know, like, when something could go completely south. Even between now and next Thursday, I could be like, oh fuck, oh shit. You just never know with teeth. At least for me, that's my experience. But yeah, I think I'm done killing time at your expense and screwing up stories and references and whatnot. I never said I was sharp today. I just said I was in a better mood. So, but yeah, that stuff just used to make me laugh. Like almost everything just made me laugh when I was 20 years old. In my 20s, I just didn't give a fuck about anything. I had my whole life ahead of me. I was strong as an ox. I could walk anywhere I wanted to. I could walk from one city to another city. That's the thing about being young, is you got your whole life ahead of you, so you can always lie to yourself about what future you're going to have, or things that you're going to do, or like, you meet the great love of your life and whatever, that delusion that I had, like, oh, I'm going to make this all worthwhile by remaining chaste, and then it'll be like an earth-shattering experience to finally, you know. Uh, I didn't know it was like you need fucking practice. It's like you gotta have some game, son. And it's like you might think that you're wonderful, but you a poor shiftless son of a bitch in the eyes of these broads out here, and you ain't that good looking. How I could get by on looks and shit. It's like I wasn't even like aware of the fact that I walked a little fucked up. I could walk like uh, effectively and for like long distances, but like I said, the police used to stop me, and I asked my brother-in-law, I'm like, why the fuck are the police always stopping me? And he was like, well, sometimes you kind of look like you're drunk when you're walking. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now how do you watch yourself walk? I never thought about it, but I had issues on the left side of my leg from my knee down. I always had issues with my left foot and my left calf. It's like I could always stand. When I was young, I could stand on my right toe real easy, and my left toe was kind of like the guy just balancing the couch while the other guy is doing all the heavy lifting. Well, my right calf muscle, my right gastrocnemius was doing all the work, and my left gastrocnemius was out to lunch. It was just, it had to bear some of the weight, but it wasn't doing much. So, yeah. But when I was in my 20s, I was give a shit about anything. Nothing really got on my nerves. I lived in that building. It's drunks, noise, uh, people throwing rocks at the building at 3 a.m. That was a bad neighborhood, and I'd walk all hours of the night. And like I said before, I remember like, man, this sucks. I'm gonna get my ass beat up. Like, and I can see my house. These motherfuckers are between me and my house. I can see my house. It's like I don't mind getting beat up by like three or four guys so bad. It's the fact that my house is like right there, and it's not even like you can see your house off in the distance. It's like I can hit my house with the rock. They were throwing rocks at me and then walking my way and shit. And that's when I acted like I had a gun and started walking toward them. I had a wrench in my pocket because I couldn't find what I usually carried for self defense. So I did a Godfather routine, where Michael Corleone tells the guy to pretend he has a gun. Just stick your hand in your pocket if you see a car slow down. It's like, I thank you. I don't think Francis Ford Coppola for saving me from that ass whipping that day, because I stuck my hand in my pocket and I grabbed hold of that wrench and it looked like I had a gun in my pocket, and I started walking toward them and they left. And I just bluffed them. And went in my house and I was like, started laughing. That was funny as fuck. I wasn't even like, I was relieved, of course, but I wasn't even like, oh my God, that was close. Jesus. I was just laughing about it. And what's weird is like in those poor neighborhoods where people got nothing to do, there'd be like people sitting around looking for trouble. But if you walk like you're not afraid, you don't give a fuck, it's like nobody will bother you. Well, that day, like these guys were looking at me, and I just kind of flinched, and I just like acted scared for just a second, and they actually got off the porch and followed me like fucking dogs, because I like a pack of wolves, because I showed fear. And you know, they did more than follow me. They like cut me off, got in front of me and was saying shit to me, and they cut me off and was blocking my way, and that's why they were in front of me. And yeah, I remember them throwing rocks at me. I was like, that part I remember. Um, that stuff happened a long time ago. I just remember, like, I wasn't happy or nothing like that in the 20s. In my 20s, it's like just didn't care about shit. Stuff didn't phase me that much. It's like this nonsense upstairs. I'd adjust to it. Everything except for the stomping. The stomping. Everybody has that thing that bothers them. I would never, you know, handle that. When you got stomping where your windows are rattling and shit. And that was a messed up, ratty old apartment. And it's like that was the apartment I was in where it actually, in the storm of the century, March 3rd, 1993, I believe, it actually snowed inside my house. It snowed through the storm window and through the regular window. And there was a little pile of snow built up on the window ledge inside the house in a little pyramid. And then, like, that was also, like, I looked at the little pile of snow and the wind was blowing so hard that I stuck my face at the window. And I thought, I've never taken acid before, so why am I having a flashback? and the window like bulged out and came toward my face, and I realized it wasn't a window, it was a plexiglass substitute. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm renting off two of the cheapest people in the known universe. That's not real glass, it's just like plexiglass. But it was a weird thing to have the window come at you. You know, what is happening here? So yeah, uh, yeah, I'll let you go. I've been just rambling on about bullshit for an hour. An hour is a good length, so um, yeah, it's always been a peculiar life with full of peculiar stories. I mean, not many people like have a story where a guy above them um, actually thinks they have a garbage disposal and does like an Abbott and Costello routine or something. If they had garbage disposals in that time, now, a Monty Python routine. I don't know what reference would work, but throws food down the sink and clogs it up and flips the light switch for the over the sink light. And I was like, why in the fuck would you think this place has a garbage disposal? It doesn't even have like unified. It's still, it's from the segregation days. Okay, it segregates hot from the cold. It doesn't even have unification policy on the hot and cold water, and it doesn't all come out of one spigot. And I hope that gesture did not look too obscene. I want to leave you with that. Hopefully, I made you laugh a couple of times, and I'll see you when I see you. And take care of yourselves. Goodbye.